Ever heard that saying, more money, more problems? It's easy to think, oh, that doesn't apply to me, right? But what about when we're talking about football legends, like seriously, icons? Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
That's who we're diving into today. Not to relive the glory days, although we'll touch on them, but to really get into what happens after the cheers fade.
Right.
Because for Ronaldinho, the real game began when he had to manage a fortune most of us can't even imagine.
It's such a classic story, that kind of rags to riches, but then almost back to rags.
Yeah.
And it's something that resonates with everybody. I mean, you don't have to be a professional athlete to understand the pitfalls of what happens when you come into a lot of wealth without necessarily having the tools to manage it.
Right. And it's so easy to think, oh, that would never be me. I'd be different. But this is Ronaldinho. Like the Ronaldinho, we're talking about a guy who's pulling in almost $300,000 a week at his peak. Our sources are painting this picture of him, at Barcelona, just unstoppable on the field, trophies, endorsements, the world at his feet. It's like you'd think that kind of money would set you up for life.
Yeah, for sure. And it's easy to think that, especially when you're young and you're at the top of your game.
Yeah.
But this is really where that disconnect comes in.
Yeah.
You can be unbelievably talented in one area, like Ronaldinho clearly was in football, but that doesn't automatically mean you're a financial whiz.
It's true.
Having advisors is super common at that level, but sometimes, the message just doesn't seem to stick, or maybe they just aren't listening. Who knows?
And sometimes the wake-up call, or I guess the wake-up spill, is a very expensive Pepsi.
Yeah.
That Coca-Cola deal. I mean, $750,000 gone just for a sip of the wrong soda.
Makes you think twice about what you post on Instagram, honestly. But seriously, it's a great example of how important personal branding is. It's not just about one mistake. It's the bigger picture. Everything Ronaldinho did or does is magnified, right? So every single drink he chooses, every party he's at, every product he's even near, it all plays a role in how much he's worth.
It's like this constant negotiation, isn't it? Like between just being yourself, living your life, but also maintaining this image, this brand that literally fuels your income.
Exactly.
And speaking of which, the nightclub clause? Can you even believe that?
What?
It's in his contract. He was required to go out partying like 2 nights a week.
Ooh, wait.
Yes. Can you imagine having that in your work agreement? Must attend nightclub, mandatory fun.
That's kind of wild. But honestly, that just sounds exhausting. I mean, at a certain point, doesn't that become work?
Right.
And you do have to wonder, how sustainable is that lifestyle, especially when your job depends on peak physical condition? It's kind of a recipe for burnout, isn't it? And looking at the sources, it seems like that's where his performance on the field started to slip a bit.
It's like your body's your most valuable asset, and you're just running it ragged.
It really is.
Yeah.
You got to manage it like a racehorse or something.
Okay, but then it gets even more interesting, because we're talking about post-retirement. The guy owns like 57 properties.
Yeah.
Properties.
Oh, yeah.
You'd think, okay, he's set, right, building an empire. But then the hammer drops. Taxes. Unpaid taxes.
Yeah.
And not just a little bit, forgot most of those properties getting seized.
Oof. See, this is that classic, what they call sudden wealth syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you had financial advisors, even if you're not a total spender, that much money, that much real estate, that's a whole other job to manage.
Absolutely.
It's like everyone assumes, if I won the lottery or if I was a huge football star. But the reality is those are whole different skill sets.
Yeah.
Taxes, investments, property management.
Yeah.
Most people struggle with this stuff on a normal income.
Yeah.
So imagine multiplying that by like 1,000.
And as if the property thing wasn't enough, there's the whole passport incident. Trying to enter Paraguay with a fake document when he's Brazilian. They don't even need a passport for Paraguay.
Oh, no.
It's almost comical, except it's also kind of sad. Like, how out of touch with reality do you have to be to think that's going to fly?
It's easy to judge, but I think it points to something deeper. Fame does something to people. It warps your reality. Suddenly, you're in this bubble where different rules apply, and over time, you lose sight of basic common sense.
It's like you said earlier, the lessons just don't stick.
Yeah.
And then, almost inevitably, in this day and age, we get to the cryptocurrency venture.
Of course. Every celebrity has one.
Right. But this is what kills me. This is a man who was earning $300,000 a week, right? And he launches his big soccer coin, and it gets like, 61 followers on Instagram?
61. Oh, no. That's
Right.
like less than some dog accounts I follow.
Exactly. It's this almost perfect example of how fleeting fame and fortune can be and how easily people will jump on the next big thing without, doing their research.
Totally.
Hmm.
Especially with crypto, it's so volatile. And celebrity endorsements can backfire so easily.
Hmm.
Like people see a famous name and they think, oh, it must be legit. But more often than not, it's just not.
It's a good lesson for all of us, honestly. Whether we're dealing with crypto or investments or anything, really, just because something seems flashy and exciting on the surface doesn't mean it actually
Right.
is.
For sure. And I think if there's one big takeaway from Ronaldinho's story, it's that success in one area of your life doesn't automatically translate to success in others. Just because you're talented or famous or wealthy doesn't mean you're immune to the very human struggles of managing money, making mistakes, and trying to navigate the complexities of life.
And that's a powerful message for everyone, not just football superstars. The source mentions Ronaldinho's rebuilding now. I mean, what does that even look like after all this?
Right.
Can you really recover from those kinds of public missteps, both financially and in terms of your reputation? It really makes you think.